गुड मॉर्निंग फ्रेंड्स। आप सबका बहुत बहुत स्वागत है स्पिरिचुअल डॉक्टर फॉर होलिस्टिक हेल्थ के आज के सेशन में। मैं अपने दोस्त डॉक्टर एस रंजन के साथ आप सबका स्वागत करता हूं आज के बहुत ही इंफॉर्मेटिव और बहुत ही लाइफ चेंजिंग सेशन में। आज हमारे साथ डॉक्टर सरला जुड़ने वाले हैं और आज हम एक बहुत ही इम्पोर्टेंट टॉपिक के बारे में बात करेंगे जिसका नाम है 5 मैजिकल मिलेट्स। इसके बारे में डॉक्टर खादर बली जो हमारे चैनल के ऊपर 2 बार आ चुके हैं वो बहुत डिटेल में बात कर चुके हैं। आप हमारे पिछले जो सेशंस हैं वो उसको चेक कर सकते हैं। डॉक्टर खादर बली के नाम से वो सेशंस हैं। हमारे सेशंस फेसबुक और यूट्यूब दोनों के ऊपर रहते हैं। आज हमारे साथ डॉक्टर सरला जुड़े हुए हैं, उनकी बेटी हैं, उनके साथ में इस जो मिशन है उस मिशन को आगे प्रमोट कर रही हैं। एंड मैं डॉक्टर सरला को इनवाइट करता हूँ। गुड मॉर्निंग डॉक्टर सरला।
Good morning. Namaste.
नमस्ते। Welcome to our channel Spiritual Doctor for Holistic Health.
Thank
Dr.
you.
Father has visited this channel 2 times and we are fortunate that today you are here to guide
My
us.
pleasure. My pleasure.
Same here, same here. Uh, you're here to guide us about the 5 millets. We all
Yes.
know that 5 millets are magical. I am using at my home with my many clients also, and we have seen that you can say magical results. Never thought about results. So today we are going to discuss about the theory part of millets
Yes.
and how they are benefited and benefiting the persons. But
Yes.
along with that, we will love to listen the some cases you have encountered, some difficult cases you have encountered. Someone having diabetes, someone having hypertension, someone having PCOD, or someone having
Sure.
different kind of hormonal problems. So
Sure.
it's 11:11. This is our spiritual time, angelic time. We
Yes.
start our session.
Yes.
We again welcome you, Dr. Sarla. Over to you.
Well, namaste.
Namaste.
So I would like to start today's session by quoting one of the scriptures in which there is a mention about millets. So I think everyone is aware of Dashavatar of Vishnuji. And in that, Varahaswamy is the 4th avatar. And when Varahaswamy actually fights to get back Bhudevi, when Mother Earth was captured by a Rakshas, and Varahaswamy had to go and fight with the Rakshas to win back Mother Earth. After the fight, he's tired out, exhausted, victorious, and all the people request him that how can we give anything in return to you for the gift you have given us. You have given back Mother Earth to us. And that time Varahaswamy says, I don't need anything from all of you. I just want some Priyangu Payasam, which is a kheer made from foxtail millet. So this is to show how much importance millets have been given even in our scriptures, that even God said that for the entire run which you say after fighting a Rakshas and getting something back, all he wanted was to have some kheer which was made of foxtail millet. So this is to say that millets are not something new which we have introduced or suddenly it's come out of the blue. It is something which is ancient and which has been used from generations and generations of our ancestors. And not just in India, I would like to state that even in China, the dynasties, like the way we say Mughal dynasty, the way we say Marathas, the way we say Rajputs, in a similar way in China, the names of dynasties used to be the names of different millets which were commonly used in that area. And I bring this up to say that it was not only in India, but everywhere in the world, millets were the staple food of human beings from centuries. So why I'm saying this is that when we start thinking that it's something which our ancestors have been using, the next question comes up, why did they suddenly disappear? Just few years back, if we said Koda Millet, people would just look around and say, what is that? If we say foxtail millet, many people have just a question mark on their face. So how did such grains, which were being used by our ancestors all over the world as staple grains, suddenly disappear and be wiped out to such an extent that food has been equated only to rice and wheat all over the world, wherever you go, be it in any form? It may be bread if you go to the Western countries, or it may be noodles in China, or it may be in India, roti, kulcha, or it may be rice in different forms. But these are the two grains which have been selected by humans all over the world in the past 100 years as their staple food, to an extent that we have forgotten the existence of everything else. So these grains, I can tell you, it was not a sudden thing which happened, or something which happened overnight just by chance. Step by step, it has been planned in this way, in the name of the industrial food culture, in the name of the green revolution. Slowly and steadily, the grains which were profitable for the companies. I say this because millets require very little water to be grown, and any farmer can just grow the millets with the rainwater, and they do not require any fertilizers, any pesticides, and it's so easy to grow. So when millets are the staple food, we as a country, we as people, the farmers would have been independent and did not require to be dependent on the companies or on anyone, as a matter of fact. So slowly and steadily, as industrialization came in, as corporatization happened, the grains which required more water, I mean rice, wheat, and with this sugarcane. So we know that one of the biggest curses for us right now is sugar, which is something we absolutely do not require, but are producing in tons and tons and tons to make sugar. Sugarcane is grown for one, making sugar, and two, for alcohol. And both these things are spoiling our health. So for the purpose of using more and more fertilizer, using more and more chemicals, and for the purpose of making these into food products, the industrial food culture coming up, slowly and steadily, all the good, scientifically good grains, the millets, were slowly eliminated, and slowly and steadily rice and wheat replaced all these grains. And today I think we see that when we say food, these are the only two grains which pop up in people's minds. So after saying this, I would like to say that scientifically speaking, when you look at our body is meant to have grains. We need carbohydrate, yes, but it is required in such a way that the carbohydrate is incorporated with fiber. So why am I saying rice and wheat are not the correct grains for us? This is because rice and wheat have very, very little fiber in them. And this fiber too is present only in the outer layers. So when we polish the rice, the husk itself, all the fiber is lost. So practically, when we consider the rice in the form we are eating, there is zero fiber in it. Even if you say you eat red rice or brown rice or unpolished rice, it hardly has 0.2% of fiber. So because of the fact that there is no fiber incorporated with the grain, the release of glucose into the blood becomes very, very fast. And when it comes to wheat, wheat has the original Desi variety. Wheat had 1.2% of fiber. But what is available in the market now as atta is basically bleached wheat, maida, and a mix of it, which has very, very little fiber. You can say 0.2 to 0.5% of fiber, which is negligible. So when we use these two grains, the release of glucose into the blood, the carbohydrate which we consume, getting converted inside the body into glucose, and the glucose coming into our blood, there is a sudden rush of it happening. And this sudden rush of glucose, people think it's the only result of this is diabetes. But unfortunately, that's not the only result. Diabetes, yes, of course, we have so many people, statistics saying 11% of the population is diabetic, but on the ground level, it's much more than that. And the WHO stating that it's only going to double within the next 10 years and not reducing anywhere in the future. So diabetes is one of the major concerns because of the sudden rush of glucose happening into our blood. But not just that, the glucose increasing in the blood causes our blood to become thick. So I think everyone is familiar with the process of making jamun. So how do we make jamun? We have a syrup being prepared by adding sugar into water. So our blood is supposed to be thin like water so that it can flow everywhere and perform all its functions. But when we are flushing it with so much glucose day in and day out, all 3 times a day, we are consuming rice or wheat. And in between that, we are having coffee, we are having tea with so many grams of sugar, 15 to 20 grams of sugar entering our body just through coffee and tea per day. So all this glucose, where does it go? It ends up in our blood and our blood starts thickening. So this thickened blood, what happens? The pressure inside the blood vessels increases, and what we call as hypertension is a result of our blood becoming thick. So what we see what happens when we are having hypertension, the doctor would prescribe a blood thinner, which means our blood has become thick. So our BP has increased, blood pressure has increased. So why is it increasing? We all are aware that eating salt increases our blood pressure. Yes, salt does have an effect on blood pressure, but we all forget that sugar is actually the main cause for our blood becoming thick in the first place. And not just this, the excess sugar, the liver has to deal with it, and it converts this into triglycerides. It converts it into fat, and all this starts depositing in various parts of our body and eventually leads into obesity, leads into more problems like hormone imbalances, leads into problems like heart attack because of cholesterol depositing around our heart. So what I'm trying to concentrate on here is that how eating the wrong grains, having so little fiber, is causing us so many kinds of diseases. Since these grains have been known to cause diseases slowly and steadily in our body, so we have termed them as negative grains because they are bringing us unhealth. So then what next? What are the positive grains? This is the important question. So as I was saying, millets were the staple food of our ancestors from centuries. So what are these millets? Even today, in spite of all the efforts in many parts of the country, we still have a few millets which are known and used. These include bajra, they include jowar, they include ragi in South India. So these have not been eliminated completely yet. These millets we would classify as neutral grains. So why are we calling them as neutral grains? They have a fiber percentage of approximately 2 to 4%. So this 2 to 4% is a lot more than rice or wheat, yes, but they're not sufficient to cure already diseased condition. So now say you do not have any disease, you're absolutely fit and healthy. Then using jowar, using bajra, using ragi, using oats and other neutral grains will help you maintain your health. So kids can obviously use all these kinds of grains. But if you're already in a diseased condition, say you're already having hypertension, you're having diabetes, or you're having PCOD, or having thyroid issues, any of the common conditions which we come across, then if you already have a disease, these neutral grains, I mean bajra, jowar, ragi, etc., don't have the capacity to cure you or bring you out of this diseased condition, since their fiber percent is just 2 to 4. So when we want to come out of a diseased state, become healthy from an already diseased state, we require grains which have even more fiber percentage, which have even more healing properties. And that brings us to the 5 positive millets. So these 5 positive millets, we've called them positive millets because they give us health. So these 5 positive millets have a fiber percentage ranging from 8 to 12.5%. I'm not saying that there are no other millets. There may be many, many more millets which are yet to be researched, which are yet to be found, grown, used, and their medical properties determined. The ones which we were able to work with, which we were able to establish, are the 5 positive millets. So I would like to speak about each one of these 5 positive millets and their special properties in detail. So having in general all these 5 positive millets, since they have a fiber percentage of over 8%, they ensure that the glucose is released very slowly and steadily into your blood. There is no sudden rush. So once you have a meal made of any of these 5 positive millets, it takes about 5 to 6 hours for the carbohydrate which is present inside these millets to slowly be digested in your body, converted to the simplest form glucose molecule, and then get absorbed into the blood. So since this happens slowly and steadily and gradually over 5 to 6 hours, you never see a spike of sudden glucose levels in your blood. So what is usually referred to as the glycemic index. So that is why, of course, all the 5 positive millets are a gift for diabetic patients. Slowly and steadily, they help you to come out of this diabetic condition. But not just that, each one of these grains has a special region of action in your body, which it can help. So today we're going to be speaking about all these special areas in which the millets act. So let's start off with the first one, which is foxtail millet. So foxtail millet has 8% of fiber in it, and foxtail millet is slightly yellowish in color. So it becomes very important to identify the millets when you're using them, to know which is which millet and to know which are good quality millets. So please keep in mind that millets have their own individual color. If everything is looking white to you, then it means that they are polished and there is no use, there is no benefit for you in using them. So foxtail millet, having 8% of fiber, is yellowish in color, creamish yellow in color. And coming to the sphere of action of foxtail millet, it has a lot of benefits on the nervous system. So let's speak about a few conditions which what we mean by nervous conditions. So let's start off with cerebral palsy. Children who have had some problem during the process of birth or just before being born, where there is a lack of oxygen supply to the brain for a few seconds or a minute, and the brain cells get damaged. We all know brain is made of nerve cells. So such children usually find it difficult, the developmental milestones are delayed. And not just cerebral palsy, let's extend this to the range of mental retardation or even autism. So where there has been a problem in the developmental phase of the brain. So foxtail millet's sphere of action, being the nervous system, has benefited many such children in the specified conditions. Of course, there are a lot of other things which come in the protocol, like the oils required, like the decoctions required to help such children. We'll be sharing the protocols with all of you. But please remember that foxtail millet has a special affinity towards the nervous system. It also includes, so what else does the nervous system include? It includes problems of the aged, like Parkinson's, like Alzheimer's. By Parkinson's, I mean people having the problem of getting tremors, having problem in their balance, body balance. Alzheimer's, as in forgetfulness. As people grow old, they start forgetting what is happening around them, to an extent that in severe Alzheimer's, they may forget where they are, they may forget their own name also. So even in such conditions, we have seen foxtail millet helping people a lot. Convulsions or fits is also a nerve related complaint. So foxtail millet is very good for such people who are suffering from convulsions or fits. So like this, all the nerve related complaints, we can speak about sciatica, which is a very painful situation, though there's a pressure on the sciatic nerve which runs from your back down the leg. So pain radiating from the back down the leg sometimes becomes very severe that the person cannot walk. So even in sciatica or spondylosis, where you have the same situation happening in the hand, the nerve all the way from your neck to your fingers having a pulling kind of pain. So in all such nerve-related conditions, foxtail millet is very, very good for you. Not just nerves, foxtail millet also has a special affinity towards the joints. So arthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, all the pains of your small joints, of the big joints, the knee joint, which many people are facing of late, that mainly because of obesity, the knee joints at a very early age are not supporting the body weight, and there's a lot of pain and swelling. So all such joint related complaints also, foxtail millet is very good for you and is going to help you. And the last sphere of action of foxtail millet is the lungs. Of late, I think a lot of us have been focusing on improving the lung capacity, improving the lung strength after the COVID attack, and many people suffering from corona, and even after recovering, the lung capacity not improving, and people having dyspnea or difficulty in breathing when they're climbing steps or after walking even half a kilometer feeling breathless. So for all these situations, not just because of corona, any other infection of the lungs, where the lungs have become weak, foxtail millet helps you a lot. Even in asthmatic conditions, in tuberculosis, all the infections of the lungs or allergies affecting the lungs, foxtail millet is going to help you. So just to summarize, foxtail millet, yellow in color, having 8% of fiber, and has a special affinity towards the nervous system and the lungs and the joints of the body. So next, let's move on to Koda Millet. So before I move ahead, in Hindi, foxtail millet is known as kangni. So that's a usual local name which is used to refer to foxtail millet. So next, moving on to Koda Millet. So the specialty of Koda Millet is that it's also known as the Himalayan millet. So even today, the tribals in the Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand region are using Koda Millet as their staple food. And trust me, they are way healthier and have none of these so-called lifestyle diseases troubling them. So Koda Millet is pinkish to red in color. It is the biggest among the 5 positive grains in size, and it has 9% of fiber. So many people think that this red color is dust or is some mud which is present with the millet, and tend to wash it so many times, several times, until there is no color left in it. But this is not necessary, and actually you'll be losing nutrients by doing this. So it's the natural color of Koda millet itself. It's pinkish brown in color. And if you're having that color, it means you have a good quality of Koda millet with you. So what is the special sphere of action of Koda millet? So Koda millet is, as the doctrine of signature says, it's red in color and it has a special affinity towards your blood. So all your complaints related to blood. So blood is a very wide sphere of action. So if you're saying Koda has an action on blood, then it has a very, very huge sphere of action when it comes to the several diseases affecting us. So let's start off with the simple thing. What we say is anemia, having a low HB percentage, having low iron in your body. So this has a Koda Millet has a very good role to play if you are anemic, especially the women in India having poor eating habits, not having enough nutrients in the food, being severely anemic. And Koda Millet has a very good role to play in this situation. Next, speaking about the WBC, I'm trying to break the blood into its components. We first spoke about the hemoglobin or the RBC part of it. Next, coming to the WBC. So the white blood cells in the blood are mainly focusing on our immunity. So those having a very low immune status, that is having a poor immunity, Koda Millet is going to help boost your immunity, since it boosts the immune system altogether. So especially in today's times where suddenly everyone is trying to focus on their immunity, this should have been happening from before, but in the current scenario of corona, everyone is trying to focus on improving their immunity. So even if you are exposed, so it's unavoidable. We are sometime going to get exposed to, if not coronavirus, some other kind of bacteria or virus which is going to harm us, which has a possibility of becoming serious conditions in us. So the only solution, we cannot keep bringing up vaccines for each and every virus which is going to come. This was one thing. What about the next one? What about the next one? And the viruses keep mutating. So we cannot match the speed of their mutation and keep bringing up more and more vaccines and take more and more such things. The best solution is, of course, to improve our own immunity. So whatever we are exposed to, we need to have the good immune system to be able to fight it. So Koda Millet has a very important role to play in this immune system building of our immunity. So after speaking about building our immunity, we also need to speak about autoimmune conditions. So what are these autoimmune conditions? The immune system is supposed to attack germs, bacteria, viruses, which come from outside. But in certain conditions, the body loses the recognition of what is own and what is coming from outside. So it starts targeting the own cells. The body's own cells become targeted by the immune system, and there is damage happening inside the body. Now, this can happen in any part of the body. When it happens in the joints, we give it the name of rheumatoid arthritis. It can happen in the kidneys, and then we call it lupus or SLE. So there are several autoimmune conditions. It can happen in any part of the body. And in all these conditions, the core factor is that the body has lost the capacity to identify its own cells. So here we need to regulate the immune system and make it understand what is my own body cells. And in this too, Koda Millet has a very great role to play. So autoimmune conditions, Koda Millet is going to be very good for you. And then next, of course, in the blood, we have, after red blood cells and white blood cells, the platelets. So of late, I have heard that there has been a dengue outbreak. So dengue causing a drop in the platelet levels inside the body. Within a week of using Koda Millet, you will see that the platelet count is improving. This has happened to lots of our patients, not just dengue patients, even those having idiopathic ITP, even for them, platelet counts improve when you start using Koda Millet. So all the three main cellular components of the blood, Koda Millet has a role to play. So when we speak about all these three components, of course, we also have the blood cancers where these cells are going either too low or too high. So even for blood cancer patients, Koda Millet has a very important role to play. So not just these three cellular components, we also spoke about cholesterol or triglycerides being high in the blood. We also have kidney conditions. So what is the role of kidney? It is to purify the blood. So if your kidney is not functioning properly, then all the toxins which you generate start accumulating in the blood. So even in kidney conditions where the kidney is functioning is not happening properly, Koda Millet is very important for the person to use. So just to summarize, let me say Koda Millet has 9% of fiber. It is reddish pink in color, also called the Himalayan millet. In Hindi, it's known as Koda Chawal. So this millet having its sphere of action everywhere where the blood is there. Even allergies, I think I didn't mention allergies. So what is an allergy? We think that it's a skin problem if you have a rash, or we think that if you're having continuous sneezing, there's some problem in the nose. No, the problem is that your immune system is overreacting. So low immunity is one condition, and the opposite is allergies, where your body is overreacting to a small stimulus. So it's normal that if there is little dust, we have 3 or 4 sneezes so that the dust comes out. But a small exposure to dust and you continue to have sneezing for an hour or two, then this is an overreaction of your body. And even here, your immune system needs to be regulated. So Koda Millet has a role to play even in allergies and in, of course, kidney conditions, cholesterol and heart conditions where the blood needs to be purified, where toxins and unwanted substances are accumulating in the blood. So next, moving on, we completed foxtail millet and Koda millet amongst the 5 positive grains. Moving on to the third one, which is barnyard millet. So barnyard millet has 10% of fiber and is cream in color, off-white to creamish in color. Barnyard millet has an affinity towards the liver. So we often forget how important the liver is in our body. It is the chemistry lab. So all the metabolic activities occur inside the liver. So if your liver is not functioning properly, then your health cannot be all right. So for purifying the liver, for detoxifying the liver, for improving the liver function, barnyard millet is very important. So we can speak of conditions like jaundice, like typhoid. Typhoid infection it's there in the blood and also mainly the liver. So in typhoid situations, in the gallbladder stones, where the bile juice is getting concentrated in the gallbladder and forming stones to clean even the gallbladder, barnyard millet is going to be very good for you. So in all situations, conditions affecting the liver, even in alcoholic liver disease, where people choose to destroy their own body by consuming too much of alcohol, when you decide that, yes, I want to change and I want to bring back my body to normalcy, there is a chance and it is possible. If you start using barnyard millet on a regular basis, it will help to bring back your liver. So liver is one of the fastest organs in our body to regenerate well. So there is a very good chance that you get back to normalcy when you start using barnyard millet. So it's like when we want something to become normal, like if we want to build a good house, we need good bricks and we need good cement. So when we want our body to become normal, to become healthy, we need to give it the right raw materials. If we continue to give bad materials, if we continue to eat rice and wheat and all the chemicals which are coming with all our vegetables and all the junk which we are putting into our body, we cannot expect our body to become healthy. But when you give the body the right food, you will see how, as I don't want to use the word miraculously, but Like a miracle, the body starts regenerating and becoming more and more healthy. Of course, it doesn't happen overnight, but slowly and steadily over a period of 6 months, you will see how your body is changing. So next, let's move on to the fourth millet, the fourth positive millet, which is little millet. So little millet and barnyard millet look very similar. It's quite difficult to differentiate between them after you have the rice form of it. But when you have the seeds before dehusking, they're quite different. Even little millet has around 10% of fiber in it, and it's called as sawa in Hindi. So it's also called rat ka chawal. I think that in Gujarat, Rajasthan, Maharashtra, in the time of Ekadashi or a lot of pujas happening, little millet is what has been chosen as the grain which can be eaten. So why is this? Because you're having only one meal in the entire day. You can see the logic behind it, that if you are eating rice or wheat, the release of glucose into the blood is very fast. Within half an hour to 1 hour, all the glucose is coming into your blood and it's difficult to sustain for the entire day. But when you are eating millets, like little millet, if you're eating, you have a slow and steady release of 5 to 6 hours of glucose. So in fasting, if you're having even one meal, if you're having millets, you will be energetic for the entire day. So this is the logic behind having little millet for during fasting or Rat. So what is the sphere of action of little millet? Little millet is very important for all the types of hormone imbalance. So one of the most common conditions today is thyroid related issues. Mainly in women and even in men, thyroid, hyperthyroid, both have become quite common. So if you're suffering from thyroid issues, I think there are a lot of rumors running around that eating millets causes thyroid. This is absolutely not true. We have thousands of patients who have completely gotten rid of their thyroid medication, who have been taking 100 mcg, 125 mcg of thyroid tablets for 10 years, for 15 years, who have stopped all their medication. And I'm not saying they're even dependent on any other medication, even free of homeopathic, Ayurveda, no medicine at all, just clean eating of millets, mainly little millet, more of little millet and other millets as well, and following a good lifestyle, exercising regularly, etc. So thyroid related issues, your go-to grain is little millet. Other than thyroid, there are a lot of other forms of hormone imbalance happening inside the body. PCOD has become almost 35% of the female population is suffering from problems of PCOD, polycystic ovarian disease. So what happens in PCOD, the symptoms can be a wide range. It can be having no menses at all for 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, once in a year getting your periods, which is supposed to be happening as a regular interval of 28 days to 30 days, happening once in 6 months, 7 months. So this is a symptom of PCOD. Or it may be in the form of having no bleeding at all, just spotting. Or it may be in the form of having continuous bleeding or too heavy bleeding for 10 days, 15 days. The bleeding regularly should stop from 5 days to 5 to 7 days max, but continuous bleeding, and again, of course, leading on to anemic conditions. So a wide range of hormone imbalance being included in PCOD, all these conditions, little millet has a very important role to play. Not just in women, of late we see that the male population having a very, very low sperm count. It is said that if you compare what today's generation, the sperm count is not even half of what his grandfather used to have. So that is how low the sperm count has dropped on a general level, not one specific case or two specific cases. The whole population itself, the sperm count is dropping. And this is again a result of hormone imbalance. Wrong kind of hormones. See, hormones are a very minute, delicate balance is required, and that is the difference between what differentiates between male characteristics and female characteristics, whether it be mental or physical. All comes from the minute balance of the hormones in the body. And when this itself is becoming in an imbalanced state, you see various kinds of results, like even hair fall, the main factor today. I think everyone facing hair fall, and the main reason behind it is the hormone imbalance inside our body. So for low sperm counts, for hair fall, for all kinds of hormone imbalance, we have little millet as a very good solution. So just to summarize, little millet, 10% of fiber and creamish white in color, and very good for all kinds of hormone imbalance. So lastly, speaking about the fifth positive millet is the Browntop millet, also called as Harikangni. So it's very similar to foxtail millet in all its properties. It has 12.5% of fiber and is greenish in color. So this was the rarest amongst the 5 positive millets, and very difficult to find initially. But luckily now a lot of people started growing and it's become available to everyone. And the Browntop millet, which is, so a lot of people were being cheated. That's why I'm specifically speaking about it. They were selling either foxtail millet or polished Koda millet or polished little millet, saying that this is Browntop millet. So be really careful. Browntop millet needs to be slightly greenish in color. So Browntop millet, other than the effects which overlap with foxtail millet, that is, it has a very good action on the nerves, on the joints. Other than that, it is also very good for skin-related complaints. So diseases like psoriasis, like eczema, we see being helped exceptionally well when using Browntop millet. Also, digestive tract related issues. The main complaint which people have of late, but which don't even consider as a problem in themselves, is constipation. Not passing or clearing your stools on a regular basis, on a daily basis with ease, is a very big problem. So most people neglect it to an extent that they come to the doctor and don't even mention it. When we specifically ask them about it, even then they say, yeah, I do pass my stools probably once in 2 days or 3 days, and they don't even think that that's a problem. So passing stools regularly, removing the toxins from the body is very important. And constipation, severe constipation leading to piles, leading to bleeding while passing stools, leading to fissures, leading to fistula, all these have become very common. And it's obviously because of lack of fiber in our food. And Browntop millet is one of the best solutions for people having all these rectal related complaints. And apart from all these, a very special property of Browntop millet is that it has the highest anti-cancerous effect in it. So all the 5 positive millets have anti-cancerous properties, but amongst them, Browntop millet is the best for a person having cancer. So lignans, especially present in the outer layer of fiber of millets, is what gives the main anti-cancerous effect of the millets. It's an entire topic in itself to be spoken about, so I'm just going to touch upon it. So Browntop millet having 12.5% of fiber, greenish in color, good for your nerves, good for your joints, good for rectal complaints, for skin, and has the highest anti-cancerous property. So while I have been speaking about these special effects of millets, let me stress on the fact that an entire holistic health is important for all of us. So just say, suppose I have thyroid issues. It's not good if I only have little millet. Every day, all 3 meals I start having little millet. that's not going to be good for me. It's important for me to purify my blood as well. It's important for me to detox my liver as well. It's important for my nerves to get regenerated regularly. So we have to find a balance between all the 5 positive millets and use them in different proportions based on the conditions which we have. So now an ideal diet for someone having a hormone imbalance would be 3 days of little millet and 1 day each of the other 4 positive millets. Say a person having joint pains, having arthritis. For them, it would be 2 days of foxtail millet, 2 days of Browntop millet, and 1 day each of the other 3 millets. So it's very important that you remember that for holistic health, to be healthy, you need to have all the 5 positive millets in different proportions. So please keep this in mind. Don't start using only one kind of grain and neglect all the others. If you're a healthy person, of course, you can have the neutral grains and the positive millets as well. So the variety for you is even more. So that is what we are trying to stress upon here, that God has given us umpteen choices, but we as humans have forgotten all about that and have thought that only 2 grains, rice and wheat, are our food. So people coming to us say, do we have to follow a strict diet? So we are saying that you are already following a strict diet by using only 2 grains. So we are widening your options. You need to, if you're already in a very serious disease condition, stop using the 2 grains which you've used up till now, and your options of many more varieties are there now. And that applies not just to grains. It applies to vegetables, it applies to fruits, it applies to dals. God has given us a lot of variety, and the more variety that we use, the better it is for us. While saying this, let me stress upon the point that a lot of people have now started using multi-millet mix, or all the grains mixed together. Yes, foxtail is good, kodo is good, ragi is also good, this is good. Let me mix everything and have it. Won't that be very good for me? But no, actually, it's not good to mix all the millets together and use it. So as I said, each grain has its own specific action in your body, and you get the maximum benefits of that when you use that grain individually. When you mix everything, now say you have 200 grams on a whole, you have 10 grams, 15 grams of each of these grains, none of them are able to perform their cleansing action in your body correctly or completely. So there is no, yes, of course, your diabetes level will come down even if you mix the millets in and eat. But then if you want the maximum benefits, you want your blood to be purified, you want your nerves to get rejuvenated, all this happens when you use the grains individually. So we usually suggest the entire day. Don't change the millet, use a single kind of millet for the all 3 meals in a day. You can use them in different forms. See, you can make foxtail roti in the morning, foxtail rice in the afternoon. So you don't have to eat the same dish. You can make different dishes, but using the same grain in the entire day. So I've already touched upon the point on how these millets help to correct hormone imbalance and how these millets help to set right the glucose imbalance. Glucose imbalance happening because we are flushing our blood with glucose by eating grains which do not have fiber. But these millets have fiber in a lot of layers incorporated with the carbohydrate. From inside to outside, every layer there's a carbohydrate, there is fiber, there's carbohydrate, there is fiber. So even after dehusking the outermost layer to make it into rice, you still have the percentage of fiber remaining the same inside the grain. So these positive millets having 8 to 12.5% of fiber, releasing glucose very slowly into your blood. So a lot of people ask us, how is it that if we say hypertension, you say eat millets. We say cancer, either you say eat millets. We say obesity, you say eat millets. We say diabetes, you say eat millets. How are millets a solution to all of these complaints? So when the root cause for all these so-called lifestyle diseases is the same, that is the glucose imbalance in the body, the solution for them is also obviously to correct the glucose imbalance. And this happens when we eat millets, the positive millets having a high fiber percentage incorporated with the carbohydrate. So lastly, let me speak about how millets help to set right the microbial imbalance in the body. So why is the microbial imbalance occurring in the first place? So we see that we are using antibiotics without any control at all, be it for our own conditions like if for a simple cold, cough, fever, taking antibiotics. And actually antibiotics, there is a regulation in how it can be prescribed, but of late people are using antibiotics too frequently. And when we use antibiotics, not just the bad bacteria dying, but even the good probiotic bacteria in our gut, which are absolutely essential for our health, also being destroyed. But this is the direct way in which microbes are being lost, but a lot of indirect forms of antibiotics entering our body, especially through milk and meat. So many people may not be aware that in the poultry industry, I'm just taking chicken as an example, but this holds for other forms of meat as well. To avoid the infections which are going to happen, going to happen in the poultry industry because of overcrowding of chicken and the unhygienic conditions in which they are grown, a regular antibiotic schedule is followed, and every week a high dose of antibiotics is injected into the chicken. So much so that the amount of antibiotics which is given to a chicken within 3 to 4 months of its lifespan is equivalent to the amount of antibiotic which can be prescribed to a human being for 23 years of his life. So 23 years, how much antibiotics is permitted? Within 3 to 4 months, it's given into one chicken. So after it's given, we are consuming it, it's obviously coming into our body. And the same goes with milk. In the dairy industry, the cows being milked every single day, twice or sometimes even thrice, what happens is they are also prone to mastitis and a lot of other kind of infections. And to counter this, regular doses of antibiotics being given to the cows. So even through the milk which we are consuming every day, thinking that milk is good for us, milk is giving us calcium, milk is giving us a lot of other things which we require, we are unknowingly consuming a lot of antibiotics, and along with that, a lot of steroids, which are again leading into our hormone imbalance. The dairy industry, like any other industry, concentrates on production of more milk. So they'll do whatever it takes to produce more milk, which includes injecting the cows with a lot of steroid injections. And these steroids get introduced into our body from a very young age. And so we see that the antibiotics from milk causing the microbial imbalance, and the steroids which we are consuming day in and day out through milk causing the hormone imbalance. So how do we set right this microbial imbalance in our body? And another major concern of today has become vitamin B12. Everybody having vitamin B12 deficiency, and the range of effects of vitamin B12 are very, very huge. It can range from just feeling lethargic, not having energy, to very serious implications as well. So getting right the vitamin B12 in your body is very essential. And this happens only if you have a good microbial colony inside your gut. So when you have a good probiotic microbial flora, they synthesize vitamin B12 for you, which you absorb. So how to set right this microbial imbalance is very simple, by having Again, we look back to our ancestors for the answer, that is fermented porridge, also known as khameer in Hindi. I think in South India we call it as ambali. So what is this fermented porridge or khameer? Take any of the 5 positive millets. You need to first soak the millet. Any dish you are preparing with millets, you need to remember to soak it well. 6 to 8 hours of soaking is a must, because the fiber content is high. For it to cook well, for it to be digested well, it needs to be soaked. So after soaking the millet, you need to cook it with a lot of water. So you can use around 1:6 or 1:10 proportion of water to make the fermented porridge, depending on how thick or watery you want it to be. And after cooking the millet porridge, you need to, what is the difference between direct consuming porridge and fermented porridge? Our intention is to get good microbial flora into our gut. So you need to allow this cooked millet porridge to rest for 6 to 8 hours again after it is cooked. And ideally, it is best to make this fermented porridge in an earthen pot. Why an earthen pot? Because the pores which are present in the earthen pot will allow the aeration to happen well, so that the microbes can grow well. Microbes also require good aeration. So when the small micropores in the pot allow air, then the fermentation process becomes much, much better. So in an earthen pot, allow the porridge to rest for 8 hours, and after that, you can consume it. Main point to remember, don't heat it again. If you heat it again, the microbes will die and the entire process will be futile. So without heating it too much again, you can consume this porridge. If you have a severe B12 deficiency, it is important that you have this fermented porridge on a daily basis. If you are a healthy person and don't have any deficiencies as such, at least twice to thrice in a week, if you have this fermented porridge, it helps to have a good microbial gut colonization, and that will help you in several ways. So the implications of not having a good microbial flora are umpteen. It even ranges to having mood swings and having bad anger issues, having anxiety issues. When you have a good microbial colonization, even at the mind level, you are calm and cool and are able to face the situations which life presents very well. This is the extreme which I am speaking about, but simple deficiencies, absorption which happens in the gut, all depend on your microbial flora, not just the vitamin B12. There is iron. Say you are taking iron tablets, you are taking calcium tablets, you are taking B complex tablets every single day, yet your levels of all these are not in the right range. Why is it happening? Even if it's there in your food, even if you're directly giving it as a supplement, your body is not in a position to absorb these nutrients from the gut into the blood. So this also happens if you don't have a good microbial content in your gut. So the best way would be to have fermented millet porridge on a regular basis to set right all these complaints. So we see that how beautifully when we use millets, all the main imbalances in our body, the glucose imbalance, the hormone imbalance, and the microbial imbalance all get right, set right slowly and steadily. We don't need to do separate things for separate issues. All of them, a holistic health can be achieved when we start using millets as our staple food. And I think I have tried to cover as much as possible in the short duration. It's a very vast subject and we can speak about each one of these for an hour, but I think I have tried to put it in a concise way. And of course, there is a lot of information available on YouTube, available in the form of books, which I would encourage all of you to go through. And the main intention is that we need to understand that health does not come from somewhere else. It is in our own hands. It is in what we eat on a regular basis and what we do on a daily basis. It's not a diet plan that you start having millets for 6 months and okay, my diabetes vanishes, and then I go back to having rice and wheat every day and think that I will be healthy. This is a change in lifestyle, which we have tried to present along with the scientific reasons behind why millets were our staple food and why they should remain to be our staple grains of use. So please slowly and steadily uh, experience the benefits of millets. And I think once you use them for 6 months, you will not feel like going back to rice or wheat or the previous lifestyle you had. And surely we can come out of so many conditions which were thought to be incurable. So the mainstream considers a lot of diseases as to not irreversible, that diabetes cannot be reversed, hypertension cannot be reversed. Yes, they cannot be reversed if you're sticking to what you were eating before. But when you change your lifestyle, when you change your food to millets, we have seen thousands of people who have become medicine free and are living a healthy and normal life just by changing their lifestyle. And it's surely possible for each and every one of us. Even a lot of other conditions, like I said, cerebral palsy or autism, they may not be cured. I'm not saying that there's going to be a magic cure for all of them, but we have seen so much improvement that children who were bedridden are now able to do their own activities. They're not dependent on their parents for eating food, for going to the bathroom. We see that special children are now going to work and able to earn something for their own livelihood. And all of this has happened by changing their lifestyle, in which millets are a main central role to play. So I hope, I'm sure there are lots of questions, of course, and please do feel free to ask your questions. We'll try to take as many questions as possible, but please do look into this further, study more about this, and become healthy. And that's what we all intend for all of you, that we don't require ourselves to be remaining in a diseased state. There is a path, there is a way which we can follow to come out of these diseases, and I hope all of you are able to do that. Thank you.
You, Dr. Sarla. You have explained in detail all the 5 minutes, and all of us gained a lot of knowledge about the 5 minutes. There are a few questions. One question is that instead of khameer, if we take the atta, how much it will benefit? And second is, do we need to soak the atta also?
Yes. Okay. So yes, even if you're using millet flour, you will need to soak it. Instead of 6 to 8 hours, you can soak the flour for 2 hours. So suppose you're making chapati. Once you mix the dough, you can rest the dough for 2 hours. That will be sufficient. Since the grain is broken, the fiber gets soaked more easily. So 2 hours will be sufficient if you're using atta. But no, khameer cannot be replaced by using atta or millet atta in any other form. Khameer has its own purpose and its own role, that is to improve your gut microbes. So that cannot be done by eating millet roti or millet dosa or millet rice or in any other form. So khameer is a must for your microbial balance and is a must to get vitamin B12. One meal or one time in a week, twice in a week, you can have khameer, and the other meals, of course, you can have millets in any other form. I hope I answered your question.
There is one thing which is coming again and again, one question, that how to cultivate the millets, from where we can get this knowledge. Second is that from where we can get the millets if we want to.
Okay. So millets cultivation is very simple. It does not require any special techniques or special methods. The same way which you grow jowar, bajra, ragi, it's the same procedure to grow millets as well. You can just spill the seeds in the field, or you can even put them in rows. Anyway, you will have the crop coming up. It takes just 3 months for the crop of the 4 positive millets, except Kodo. Kodo takes 4 months. So 3 to 4 months is all. So in a year, you can even grow millets twice to even 3 times if you have a little bit of involvement and a little bit of effort. Even 3 crops of millets can be grown. So that is about the farming aspects. There's a lot more about it, and I think I will share a few numbers with you of farmers who are actually already into growing millets and they have first-hand experience with it. You can contact them. And for the seeds or for millets itself, I will also share a contact with Dr. Sandeep. You can contact that number through WhatsApp for seeds. It's available in many places now. So basically, I think using locally and searching for local sources would be the best option. And of late, due to the awareness spreading, a lot of shops, of organic shops selling millets everywhere. But as I said, you need to know how to identify the good quality. If it's all white, then you're being cheated. As long as each one has its own individual color, that would be the right millets to use. So please check for the individual colors of each millet and use unpolished millets. If it's polished, don't use it. Anyway, I will share a number of source who courier throughout India. You can contact them if you're not able to find it in a local shop.
Even you can get on BB and on Amazon also. The millets.
Yes, they are available, but you can try it once and check the quality for on your.
Sonia Sud having a question. She's asking that I have soaked entire grains for 24 hours, then drained them, dried them, and stored them. Do I need to soak them again?
No, if you have already pre-soaked the millets, you can soak them again for 10 to 15 minutes. That would be sufficient. You don't need to again soak them for 6 to 8 hours. 24 hours is too much. You don't need to soak for 24 hours. It may start fermenting or getting a little sour taste if you soak it for 24 hours. 8 hours to 10 hours is sufficient. You can pre-soak it for 10 to 12 hours, max 12 hours, sun dry them and store them. But after you soak and if you're storing them, they tend to get insects sooner. So don't make too much of it. You make for a quantity which you would require for the next 3 to 4 weeks only. Don't make 10 kgs, 15 kgs. Don't do this process with that.
We already know, Dr. Sarala, you discussed about different diseases. There are different protocols for the millets and how to use them, a bit of calcium and other things. Our friends are asking that can you share the booklets with us so that everyone knows for which disease what protocol to use?
Yes, sure. I will share the PDF. They are free of cost and for everyone to circulate. We wish that you share it with all the people you know so that everyone can be benefited. I will surely share. We have the PDFs in Hindi, English, Tamil, Kannada, Telugu, lot of languages. So please share it. Being translated into Punjabi also. I hope that also comes out soon. So please do share it with everyone you know so that everyone can be benefited.
Dr. Sarala, one question from my side. That I am listening to Dr. Khader Wali from last 2.5 years, and I am following that his work. So he's doing a lot of work. He's going to villages. He's meeting people. He's motivating persons that don't use negative millets, use the positive millets, and you can change your life. You can transform your health also. So from this point, what you see the future?
Okay, so basically when all this started, I think 20 years back, we didn't see it in the position that it is now. I think almost for the first 8 to 10 years, we could hardly see any change in people. There were hardly a handful of people who had changed. But in the past 6 to 7 years, it has accelerated so much. And we never thought it would reach this point. I remember times when me and my mother would say, why are you wasting your time so much, to my dad, when we would tell him that all this is not taking you anywhere, not helping anyone. It's just your time which is being, you're putting in so much time and effort, but very few people are being benefited. But then after seeing the change which has happened, I think that base level was required, and things do happen slowly and steadily. So we are very happy to see where it is today, and we only hope that it just continues to move forward. And I hope that we reach a situation where I know I'm being too optimistic, but the WHO statistics saying that all the diseases, lifestyle diseases, are going to double. I hope that the graph, instead of going up, starts coming down. That's what we hope for. Yes.
And there is one last question that if someone wants a guidance and someone wants to cultivate, please do share that. Many persons are again and again asking that how we can cultivate the millets they want to cultivate. And many
Yes.
persons have tried also, but they
Yes.
have failed somewhere because there is no guidance in different states. Like in Punjab, there is Kheti Mission is there. They are
Yes.
promoting
Yes.
this. In Gujarat
Yes.
also, in Ahmedabad, many persons are doing it. Recently, there was a big conference was there in Ahmedabad. So if we can create a movement where person knows that from where they can get the millets to grow and cultivate, even more farmers can be involved in this mission.
Sure, sure. Yes, we were actually conducting a few classes also for training programs for farmers, where a group of 20 or 30 farmers we would demonstrate in our farm. Off late, due to COVID, these programs had stopped. We are planning to resume them soon, which will you can directly see how it's grown and the techniques, a lot of other techniques of natural farming. We hope to start that soon, but direct through literature and over the phone, we have few people who can guide you, and we are more than happy to help, because using millets is one side, but growing them is another very crucial part, because unless they're available, people cannot use them. So it has to be taken up by the farmers as well, and we are more than happy to help them. We will surely share the contacts for that.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sarala, for coming on our channel. This was really great interaction and knowing about the 5 minutes. And we wish you best for the future, and the mission should grow, because it's not about one person or one mission. It's about the health of the country and the health of the planet.
Yes.
So we all are with this mission, and we want this mission to be successful so everyone can live a happy and healthy life.
Thank you. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to speak to everyone. I really enjoy speaking to people. I would have loved it much more if there was, it was a direct session, of course, but yes, webinars are helping us to reach so many more people directly at home, much more conveniently. So I'm very glad to have had this opportunity, and I hope everyone benefits from it. Thank you.